Hey everyone, we are diving into a listener-suggested topic today from senior technical writer Curt Robbins.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
It is. It's all about AI and copyright law.
It really is a hot topic.
It is a hot topic, and especially for all of you out there who are technical writers and documentation experts and IT professionals, because it's really changing the way we create.
Absolutely. And copyright law is scrambling to keep up.
It is. So the big question we are asking is, if AI can write code and compose music and create art, who owns it? Can a computer be an author?
Right. Well, to answer that, we need to look at the fundamentals of U.S. copyright law.
Yeah.
The Constitution says copyright is for authors, and courts have always said that means humans.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, back when the Constitution was written, computers churning out Shakespeare wasn't really a thing. But now we've got AI practically spitting out text and images on demand. So where does copyright law even begin to handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's where this idea of the idea-expression dichotomy comes into play. You can't copyright an idea itself, only its specific expression by a human author.
Okay.
And it takes originality, not just effort, to earn copyright protection.
Got it. So where does that leave AI? If I just tell an AI, write me a technical manual, who owns that?
That's the gray area that this report really digs into.
Okay.
Just instructing an AI doesn't make you the author.
Hmm.
Your prompt is more like an idea. And we just talked about how ideas aren't protectable on their own.
Right.
Plus, AI can be unpredictable. Even a really detailed prompt could lead to something unexpected.
So it's kind of like telling a musician, write me a hit song, and then trying to claim that you wrote it.
Exactly. You just gave the idea.
Right.
But the musician did all the creative work.
Okay. So just to be clear, if I use my own copyrighted work as the input for the AI, like if I feed it my own diagram or code snippet and it generates something new from that, what happens then?
That's where things get interesting.
Okay.
The report says if your original work is clearly visible in what the AI makes, then you probably own that part. It's like a derivative work. You know, your original expression is still protected. They give this example in the report. An artist used their own hand-drawn illustration as input for the AI, and the AI enhanced it, and the artist got copyright for their original part.
Interesting. Okay.
Using a grammar checker or a code completion tool.
Yeah.
Those have been around forever. Think Photoshop or Auto-Tune. It's still the human creator's work that's protected.
Right.
The AI is just a tool, just like a more traditional software program.
Okay. So that's fine.
Okay.
But what if AI is doing more of the creative heavy lifting? What if I take AI-generated material and like remix it, make it my own? Does that change things?
But that's another area the report explores.
Yeah.
If you creatively select, arrange, or modify AI output, you can probably copyright that. You're adding your human authorship on top of what the AI generated.
So I could create a presentation using AI-generated images or heavily edit an AI-written draft to the point where it's basically my own.
Exactly. But the key word is creatively.
Yeah.
Just slapping together AI-generated pieces without any of your own artistic choices wouldn't be enough.
This whole thing, it feels very international. You know, all these legal nuances spanning all these different creative fields. It feels very global.
You're right. It is a global issue.
Yeah.
And the report actually takes us on a tour of how other countries are tackling this AI copyright dilemma.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so from Korea to Japan, China to the EU, everyone is kind of grappling with this question of how to apply copyright law to AI.
So everyone's on the same page about no robot artists getting royalties just yet?
Well, not exactly. The consensus is that only humans can claim copyright.
Okay.
But the real challenge is how you actually interpret and apply that human authorship rule to content made with AI.
Yeah.
And that's where you see a lot of variation from country to country.
Interesting. So what are some of the different approaches that are out there?
Well, South Korea has been pretty proactive. Their Copyright Commission actually released some guidelines back in 2023 specifically addressing AI and copyright.
Oh, wow.
For example, if you modify an AI-generated piece of music, like you add your own melody or you tweak the arrangement,
Okay.
only your modifications would be eligible for copyright.
Okay.
The original AI-generated core would still not be protected.
So it's like you're adding your own creative spin on top of this AI-generated foundation,
Yeah.
but only your additions get the legal protection.
Exactly. Japan's taking a similar approach. They've outlined these 4 key factors to consider when you're assessing the copyrightability of AI-generated content.
Okay. What are those factors?
Okay, so first, how detailed were the user's prompts?
Okay.
Second, how many different outputs did the user generate? Third, did they cherry pick the best one?
Okay.
And then finally, did they add any of their own creative touches after the fact?
Got it. So they're really trying to gauge the level of human involvement and creative decision-making throughout the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
Not just the final output, but the whole process.
Interesting. Now, what about China? How are they handling this?
Things get really interesting when you look at China. Remember that case in Beijing involving an image created with that AI system, Stable Diffusion?
Yeah, the one where the artist used a ton of prompts to guide the AI? That
Yeah.
was a landmark case. What happened with that?
So the Beijing Internet Court actually ruled that the image was protected by copyright and recognized the human artist as the author, even though AI played a key role.
Wow.
They highlighted the artist's personalized expression and intellectual effort in the final image.
So even though AI was used, the human was still considered the author.
Wow, that's huge.
Okay.
So are they saying that if you use really specific, detailed prompts and then make your own artistic tweaks afterward, that could be enough to establish human authorship?
It seems like that's their interpretation, at least in this case. It's not necessarily binding for future cases,
Okay.
but it does set a pretty interesting precedent.
It does. Well, the EU is sticking with the human authorship requirement. They're really emphasizing that the level of significant human input is key.
So it's all about demonstrating that human touch, similar to Japan and Korea. But wait, I thought the UK had a law that protects works made by computers without a human author. Is that
You
right?
do. It's a law that actually predates this whole AI boom, and it's not clear whether it even applies to these new generative AI systems.
Mhm.
So the UK's Intellectual Property Office is currently trying to sort of figure out how all of this fits together.
So it sounds like we've got this global patchwork of laws and interpretations. What does all of this mean for someone like Curt, a technical writer working in the U.S.? I mean, should the U.S. change its copyright laws?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. The report actually examines arguments on both sides of this debate.
Okay, so break it down for us.
Mhm.
What are the reasons for giving AI-generated content some form of legal protection?
One of the biggest arguments is about incentivizing innovation. So proponents of AI copyright say that if you could protect AI-generated content, that would encourage more investment in developing more advanced AI systems.
So if companies knew that they could profit from their AI's creative output, they'd be more likely to really invest in it and push the boundaries of what AI can do.
Exactly. And that they argue would ultimately benefit the public. You'd have more innovative AI tools, more creative possibilities.
I can see that argument. But what about the potential negative impact on human artists and writers? Wouldn't that lead to AI replacing human creators?
Well, that's one of the main arguments against expanding copyright to include AI.
Okay.
There's this fear that AI could become so good at making content that it could displace human creators.
Right, like in those sci-fi movies where robots take over everything.
Well, the concern is that human creators might struggle to compete with AI in a market flooded with AI content.
Right. And it's not just about jobs and money either. It's a deeper question about what it means to be an author in the age of AI. Can a machine really be creative in the same way a human can?
It's a really complex question. It doesn't have an easy answer.
Yeah. So what does the report recommend? I mean, should the U.S. change its copyright law to accommodate AI?
Well, for now, the U.S. Copyright Office is taking more of a wait-and-see approach.
Okay.
They're not recommending any immediate changes to the law. They think the existing human authorship requirement is flexible enough to handle these new AI-generated works.
Okay.
But they are going to keep a really close eye on how this all develops and provide more guidance as needed.
So no drastic changes to copyright law just yet. But this is definitely something that will continue to evolve.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what happens when AI becomes so advanced that we can't even tell the difference between human-created and AI-generated work.
That's a question that's going to keep us all thinking for years to come. That line between human creativity and AI is becoming increasingly blurry.
Well, we've explored the legal landscape, the international perspectives, and the arguments for and against expanding copyright to include AI.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways from all this?
I think the big takeaway for technical writers, documentation experts, and anyone working with AI is to be mindful of how you're using AI in your creative process. Document your process, highlight your creative choices, and really make sure your human authorship is clear.
So it sounds like we're kind of in this legal limbo right now, trying to figure out how to apply these centuries-old copyright principles to this brand new technology.
Yeah, it is a fascinating challenge, and it raises a lot of questions about what copyright is really meant to protect in the first place.
Right. It makes you wonder if the whole concept of authorship needs to be redefined in this age of AI.
That's a debate that's going on right now in legal circles. Some people argue that just focusing on human authorship might be too limiting.
Hmm.
They say if AI can create things that are basically indistinguishable from human creations, then maybe those works should get some kind of protection too. It's this balancing act between encouraging innovation and protecting human creators.
And what about the ethical side of all this? If we say a machine can be an author, does it also have like moral rights? Can it be held accountable for what it creates?
That's a whole other can of worms, and it's something that lawmakers and ethicists are only just starting to wrap their heads around.
Sounds like this is a conversation that's far from over. AI is going to keep pushing the boundaries and copyright law is going to have to keep up.
Absolutely. The report doesn't give us any easy answers, but it does give us a really valuable framework for thinking about all these complex issues. It also encourages ongoing dialogue between legal experts and technologists and creators to keep the conversation going.
So what's your biggest takeaway from all of this? What advice would you give to other technical writers and documentation experts who are starting to use AI in their work?
I think the most important thing is to just be aware of the legal landscape and to be really diligent about documenting your creative process.
It's a brave new world out there, and we're all just trying to figure it out together. But one thing's for sure, AI is here to stay. It's going to keep changing the way we create and consume content. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into AI and copyright.